Knowledge is Power is where you come to hear people's life experiences to learn from. So, without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I have a dream. Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Nate frickin' Dickey.
That's me.
I cannot believe it. I'm so excited to have you on. I'm excited to learn more about you and your journey in entrepreneurship, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, I'm happy to be on the show, man.
Yeah.
And, I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would love to kind of, dig into your background, your beginnings, and, where you got started from your childhood. Like, how Lindsay, Tim likes to say, from what is it, like high school to now or something like that sort of thing.
So from high school, I used to want to be a chef.
Okay.
And then I decided there wasn't enough money in that. My senior year of high school, I sold cars, and I made more than my teachers. And I told one of my teachers that, and that was fun. That's a whole interesting story.
I just want to preface this. I know that this is going to come up a lot. So if anybody is listening to this and is sensitive about hearing somebody that's just good at everything, this
I'm definitely not that. That is not. You are
especially
not
making money.
You're not going to get that here. You're going to get a lot of failing forward.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
But no, it's fine. So I did. So I started selling cars in my senior year of high school part time. I bought a house when I graduated with a buddy of mine. And that was my first kind of foray into real estate. I was working in the car business full time. I was making pretty good money.
Do you remember how much money you made your senior year of high school selling cars?
Yeah, it was $47,000.
Wow,
is what I made my senior year.
And what year was that?
I graduated in 1994.
Okay, all right. And you bought a house on $47,000 in '94.
Yep.
Right. Okay, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So that was it was good. My buddy and I bought it. It was on 125 in Plastow. We sold cars off the front lawn. We both worked in the car business. So we would both buy trade-ins and curb cars, what's what they called that, and sell them. And that was kind of fun. We had a terrible real estate agent. When we went to look at the house, we decided we wanted to buy it as we thought it was a great investment. They couldn't get the deal done, the two realtors. So we didn't know we weren't supposed to do it, but we went and knocked on the door as buyers and met the seller and then made a deal with the seller. And then the next day put it in through our realtor, and our realtor was like, well, they'll never accept this. And we're like, yeah, no, we know they will. They'll take it. Just write it up and send it in.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was so we did, that was our first house. And then he bought me out a few years later, and I bought a 4-unit in Dover. All my friends had graduated and were going to UNH, and they were living off-campus years, so their last 2 years at UNH, they all rented from me. So
So how many years was that? So you graduated high school. You went to college. So you went.
No, I didn't go to college.
You didn't go to college.
No,
okay.
I don't have the. I would have been bad at college. I went socially to UNH for about 7 years.
Right, and that's how you met Brad Kelly.
So I met Brad Kelly,
yeah, okay.
and a lot of my real close friends are there. My senior year, I hung out a lot with kids that were already at UNH. So I was at UNH a lot my senior year of high school. And then I just was there. Right. I was pretty much there for a long time. Then I went to Dover, and then my buddies were all at UNH, and a lot of my friends were there. So I made a lot of really good friends, a lot of really great times at UNH. Socially, I never had to pay a UNH bill, but got to experience all the fun of college.
Yeah, just for a little context, really quick. Current occupation and how I know you. Obviously, I'm a real estate agent. Most people listening to this podcast know that, and I'm licensed in New Hampshire and Maine now.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
By the way,
I appreciate that. And Mr. Dickey is our broker, our OP here at Keller Williams Coastal Lakes and Mountains Realty.
Yes, so I'm the
Portsmouth,
I'm
New
the
Hampshire.
operating principal of Market Center 463 Keller Williams Coastal Lakes and Mountains, and that's been fun. When I started in real estate, I was an investor. Then I had a terrible real estate agent, my first real estate agent. The second real estate agent I had was awesome. Her name was Helen McTaggart. She was a RE/MAX agent, and she helped me buy my first 4-unit, and then I bought a duplex from her, and she kind of is the one that convinced me to do real estate. But I was kind of afraid to jump right into it because I had a job. I was making pretty good money. I had some bills. I had a mortgage. My multifamily paid most of my bills, so that was good. I then jumped into radio for a little while.
Okay, right. So so let's go back a little bit into that transition from you getting bought out. So you didn't go to college. What were you doing for work? Were you flipping? Flipping cars?
I was flipping cars, but I was selling
Okay.
cars. I had a full-time
Okay.
job selling cars.
Right.
I
So
was
you were
selling
still
brand new Toyotas and Volvos.
okay.
And then I went into I worked for the guys in Plastog, the mega store guys.
Okay.
On 125, and then I went and worked for John Wall and sold Lincoln Mercury and Methuen. And that was a great job. I had some just amazing experience working for them. John Wall was an incredible owner, mentor.
Well, if you can sell Mercuries, you're a pretty good salesman.
Back then, they were really cool. There was a big Lincoln store, so we sold a lot of Lincolns, and it was fun. I mean, his work ethic was pretty incredible. And I admired him, as a boss and an owner, and I kind of wanted to be that type of a boss or owner. And at the time, I thought I was going to own a Ford dealership or something at some point. Obviously, I kind of didn't. I helped them open the Ford dealership that they have now in Salisbury, and I was the sales manager, and I was looking around, and I just saw everybody, and the lifestyle at that point in the car business was terrible. You had really no life. You worked bell to bell. You were 10-hour days, and there were no rules against it at the time. You could do that. We were salespeople. We got paid a base, but then you were heavy commission, and we made a lot of money and I would tell you back then the internet hadn't really ruined the car business yet. It was about to. It's a much different business now. It's much more life friendly, I suppose. Like if you're a salesperson at a car dealership now, the hours are better, the quality of life is better. But back then it was terrible. If I was looking around the room at these salespeople that were all, older than I was, and they had terrible relationships with their wives or their husbands. Their kids hated them. They were never around. They never got to do stuff. They worked every weekend. They were they had drug problems or alcohol problems. They were miserable. And I remember sitting in the showroom. It was like 7:30 on a Thursday night, and just saying, I don't want to end up like any of these people. So I think the quality of life is such that I'm going to leave. And so I quit, and I took the month of August off, and hung out at Lake Winnipesaukee and kind of got my head together. And I took a better job in the car business, and I had committed to it, and I was going to start in September. And instead of starting, a guy that I was buying ads from at WHEB suggested I come and interview with him. And so I did, and that was really fun. I was in my early 20s. They were a rock station. I was one of the younger people at the rock station, and it was just fun. Like after working a job that the hours were full-time plus, they were, 60 hours a week, that was normal. I went to a 9-to-5 sales job in radio, and I was used to working late nights and stuff, so I ended up getting all the beer accounts and all the venue accounts. So I was doing all this crazy radio stuff with the DJs and the beer reps and stuff, and it was just a great like two-ish year stint of just experiencing all kinds of really cool things and meeting cool people, and that kind of set me up for real estate because it gave me a bit of a marketing background. It kind of gave me that like marketing. I got like a 2-year marketing education that I got paid for, and that was, I think, invaluable, and it was a lot of fun. While I was doing that, I was also buying more property. So I had been buying property. I had been studying to get my real estate license. Back then, there was no classes online. You were going and showing up at class. So I was taking night classes to get my real estate license. And then I jumped and pulled the trigger into real estate. I started part-time. I was part-time for about a month. I put 3 houses under contract, I think 3 houses in my first 30 days. And then that was it. I just went full in, and I was working for Prudential at the time for Kathy Rush, and she was another great mentor. I learned a lot from her. She ran a really good business. At the time, it was one of the bigger agencies in the state. And I had some really great people that I got to work with there and learned a lot about the business. And then we got to a point where we sort of had some philosophical differences. And I decided I was going to leave. I was going to go work at RE/MAX. Back then, that's what you did. You started at Prudential or Century 21, and then you ended up at RE/MAX. That was kind of before Keller Williams was a thing. I accidentally found Keller Williams. I was, again, had a commitment to go to RE/MAX. I looked at buying a RE/MAX franchise. I'm glad I didn't. And they were a great company at the time. They still a good company. But if the time to be a successful RE/MAX owner, you also had to sell. And I didn't really want a job. I wanted to own a business. And the path to do that at RE/MAX was really hard. So you needed quite a few agents that produced at a high level to make it work. Here we need quite a few agents that produce to make it work too, but it's a little different. Like here I could be an owner, I could run a business, I could hire people to there was a path to owning a business and not owning a job, and that was really what I was interested in. So I flew down to Texas and I looked at the franchise model, and I didn't believe it could operate and it would work. And then once I kind of accepted that it was a real thing, I had trouble believing that I couldn't believe that they were going to sell me one. I didn't think I was qualified enough to have one. I was a good agent. I made a lot of money, but I mean, I spent it all. Like I was, really not great with my finances at the time. So I thought, if they're going to sell me this thing, they're nuts. But I'll take a shot at it. And I did. And Herb Taylor had thought I could do it. And thanks to him, he sold me the franchise, and I jumped in and opened up, and it was the most humbling experience of my life, opening a Keller Williams franchise. We were supposed to have 35 people when we opened. We had 11. And then a bunch of people that said they were going to show up never did. They were like, well, see what happens, see if he fails or not. A lot of them have come here since then. But it was pretty humbling. My ego was enormous when I opened it up, and it's been crushed since then. We've done really well, but it's an interesting experience to have to go through the launching of a Keller Williams franchise.
Yeah, so that's essentially how you got to now, which is very abbreviated, but
well, that was quick, but it was we're 24 years into Keller Williams, I think.
So what year did you buy the franchise?
Like 24 years ago.
Okay.
Ish.
So 2001.
Yeah. So we're
2002.
Yeah. That's about right. So it's been really good. It's been an incredible experience. This company changes lives, which is just something that it's unless you're in it, you don't really get it. But it's a real thing. And I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see the people grow and do amazing things. We had people that started working here when they lived in their car. We had a couple people that lived on boats in the bay all year long, and that was pretty crazy. And they all own, buildings and multiple houses and have done really well and have families and stuff in it. To watch that whole progression start, like there have been people that have worked here that their parents worked here and then their kids worked here. And I've watched the kids' go through school and are now potentially getting their real estate license. So it's really been a cool experience.
Yeah.
You figure we maintain, around 500. We're at like 550 agents now. We've been as high as 7 at the height. We're going to get back there. It's taken us longer to get back there as the market kind of comes back. But that's a lot of humans that we interact with here at this company and it's a lot of people we get to affect. So, the challenge for us is to try to deliver as much value as we can to, the agents so that they want to continue to be partners with us here. And that's hard because the industry is changing and moving fast, and we'll see more of a change in this industry in the next 5 years than we've seen in the last 20. And that's just the way it's going. And it's just because technology is moving fast and the laws are changing and the competition's different, and it's exciting, a little scary, but exciting. And to see like younger guys like you and younger women like you coming in, you're not a woman, but younger guys.
I know what you
like
meant.
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Coming into the industry and doing like podcasts. No one knew what a podcast was, even like really 5 years ago, but they were around, but it wasn't a thing, So to have all that happen and to see that change and what's going to be next is pretty exciting. And it's kind of a fun ride.
Yeah. Lots of questions. And I think I want to just kind of go backwards a little bit. And from the very beginning, you were obviously seems to have had a sales oriented mind.
Well,
a little bit, but
I'm like the dog from Up. So I salesmen's. I had like a choice. I could, be a salesman, or I don't know. Like there's not a lot I'm suited for beyond that. I'm good at a few things.
Why? That was going to be my question. Is like, was
Why?
there something when you were growing up? Was there something that like?
No,
do you remember what sparked the interest and why it was only sales?
It wasn't. Well, I think it's the growing of things that I like, and I like the connection of it. So I like to connect people with either other people or opportunities or things that they need. So I feel like that's kind of the thing that I'm good at. Like I'm good at connecting people with a thing that's going to get them what they want. That's whether that's a new house, whether that's a really cool car, whether that's a relationship that they don't have, like that. That I think is something that I'm good at, and I think that's why this works here for me. Why I succeed in my role, I think, is that. Like I'm good at connecting people in a room to each other that can benefit them. So, and if it benefits me, great. But a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times it's like I'll put you with this person over here because I think that's a good fit, and they're going to help you achieve your goal in whatever you're trying to do next. And that may affect me or it may not. But down the road, somebody may say, "Hey, Nate made this happen, and if you need Nate for this, he's really great at this." That's kind of that's the stuff that I enjoy. Like, and I like watching the people succeed. Like even some of the people that have succeeded in doing their own thing after being here. Like, and sometimes they leave the industry and go do other things, and to watch them achieve and use some of the things they've learned here in their new business, I think is really cool. It's you take it on the chin a little bit sometimes, but when you see them succeed, you kind of it makes me happy that they're succeeding, and it's kind of nice to know that at some point in their journey we had a hand in it and helped them.
Right, and that's something why I think what makes this brokerage so great is that the person that runs it and owns it thinks that way.
Thanks.
So,
man.
but I heard this tactic from somebody one time in terms of when you're interviewing somebody, and you just keep asking why, and I'm really not understanding why. What is the reason? Like, so I understand like you like to do all these things, but why?
Well, I'm motivated by my laziness. So I want to do what I want to do, which is hang out with my family, play with old cars, drive my boat around, like, and I want to leave everything that I touch better than I found it, right? So
do you think that's something that comes from your parents or your childhood, or
I think some of it does. I mean, we grew up. My father was a machinist. He was he was a tool maker, and he had he worked in a paper mill for a while. Like he was at the same job after that at Lucent Technologies for pretty much my whole life. He was there. He's retired now, but he instilled a work ethic in us, I think, and so that's part of it. And he was always kind of a hustler too. He would buy and sell heavy machinery and machine tooling and stuff like that in cars and like vintage cars and stuff. So I think I got the hustle, the buy and sell thing from him, I think. And my grandfather was in real estate, and my great-grandfather was in real estate. They were actually in the profession. So I don't know if it all comes from that. My mother was a teacher, but then she was a stay-at-home mom who, raised us, pretty much. So I think it probably was some of that. Like it was, you weren't sick from school if, unless you were dying, you were going to school. And once we had jobs, the jobs were, we took a couple vacations a year maybe, but the jobs were important. Like you worked, that's what we did. Like I bought my first car. It was a piece of iron. It was terrible. But it served its purpose. And I think it probably, my family probably.
Was selling cars your first job?
No. I was a lifeguard. I worked in a kitchen. I think everyone should work in a kitchen.
I cannot agree with that more.
It's such a grind, and it's like, and I think everyone should sell cars. I think everyone should sell something retail.
Yeah.
Because you see a different side of humans in that when you do that, and I think that's kind of.
Well, when you get into sales, it's just a very distrusting. People instantly distrust salespeople, and
I never understood that though, because I mean. I enjoy being sold. Like a good salesperson, I can totally respect them. I like it. I like the experience. I kind of like the dance.
Well, most of the time, salespeople are the easiest people to sell to.
Yeah, I don't think I'm pretty. My wife would say I'm super easy to sell. I don't get the distrust. I mean, I get general distrust of people.
It's just gain. It's personal gain. Because ultimately, like I feel. Just from experience, like talking to people, I have never. It's just funny. Like when you get into real estate, people always want to know how much money you make. It's like, oh, you make a bunch of money on this, you make a bunch of money on that, or like you sell this house, and people don't like.
People don't understand that. For what a lot of people don't understand is that this is a job and it's a business that you run, and we have regular expenses, and we don't get a check regularly.
Right. But my point is, like, it's just funny. People's mindsets towards sales in general is like, oh, never have I just had a conversation with somebody, asked them what they did, and say, how much money do you make? And that happens so often. You know what I mean? People you don't even know.
Sure.
I just see that. It's happened to me before. Not that I'm complaining.
I think our industry is shifting and getting a little bit more. It's always been professional. I think the professionalism is actually going up. I mean, our dress is changing. We are a lot more casual than we used to be. But
what are you saying?
No, I'm just saying. Me too, I used to wear a suit every day. I wore a suit every day until when Adam and I started working together. Adam Dow, he would always make fun of me because I'd always have a suit on. He'd be like, "You can't wear that up here, man." He'd come up to the lake and I'd have a suit on, and he'd be like, "You gotta dress down." He would be like, "You're dressing." He's like, "That's too much. You're too much." Because he'd be in golf attire essentially, and I'd show up in a suit, and they're like, "People are going to be afraid of you." So I kind of dialed that back a little bit, but the industry as itself is becoming a little more professional, and that's through disclosure and training. I think training is much more important than it used to be. So I think you'll see less of that, and I think people confuse money for value a lot, and if you're a really strong agent and you're good at what you do, they won't question that. And I also think that it's important to not be concerned with the outcome when you're working with a client, like not be financially concerned with the outcome.
Right.
I think that is a shift that if you can make that shift in your mind, not that you asked me this, but if you can make that shift in your mind, you come off in a very different way to your clients.
Yeah.
And
people can smell commission breath. A lot of people
totally.
can.
And I think that's if you're generally trying to make someone's situation better by what you're doing, whether you're selling them something, whether it be a tool, a car, a boat, a house, whatever, a mortgage, whatever you're doing, as long as if you generally are trying to help them and make them better and make their life better by doing it, then I think that eliminates some of that salesperson negativity. And I generally come from a place where I would rather turn you down than let you down. You know what I mean? And I'd rather try to create an environment for you to excel and succeed. And if I don't think you're a fit, or I don't think I'm a fit for you, then I would say that.
Right.
And I've walked away from a lot of deals, and I've turned people away from working here because I don't think we're a fit for them. And I think that is a mind shift. And when I made that mind shift, I think it changed the environment here, and it certainly changed, this office. Like I've had some kind of aha moments running this company where we've made major changes in the company because of one instance. So I think being open to that's important too.
Yeah, and absolutely. Excuse me. I want to talk about you buying your first house, and we kind of brushed over that a little bit. And obviously, you worked hard, you made some money, and then you bought a house. Can you explain sort of your feelings as that was happening, and why? Like, because obviously, when people are like, when I was 18, I was going to college. I was about to go to college. Like, buying a house was such a goal that was, and it's closer now, but then it was so far out, and it felt unachievable.
When I realized I probably wasn't going to college,
yeah,
and I was accepted. I was going to go to a chef school, and I was accepted to.
Really quick, why did you want to be a chef?
I just liked it. I still cook a lot. Like
Yeah.
I like to cook. It chills me out.
Oh, okay, nice.
Like
All right.
it's kind of it's fun for me to cook.
But why? No, I'm just kidding.
But why?
But why?
Well, look at me. Dude. Like someone's got to,
Hey, you look good. You've
Someone's
lost
got to
weight.
feed this,
You lost weight. You look good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You said, what did you lose? 30
35
pounds?
pounds,
35 pounds. Yeah, I remembered.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so I think, I think the thing that, why? That's what you asked me. How did I do it? Or where did I get there? So my father and my grandfather always owned real estate to like sort of satisfy their habit. Like my father had a small car collection and was always buying and selling steam engines and like antique things. And he had his buildings kind of funded that. Like he had always bought buildings and never paid rent, and those had an apartment building. And when I was a little kid, we would go collect rent, and I remember it vividly. My brother doesn't, or if he does, we never really talk about it. My middle brother, but my father had this. I think it was like a 10 unit in Haverhill, Massachusetts. And we would go collect rent, and it was like a knock on the door, and the door would open, and the little old lady with the cigarette smoke would come out, and how you doing? And she'd pat me on the head, and I'll get you a check, honey. And she'd go get the check for my father, and he would have to go and collect rent. And you'd have all walks of life. So I saw that, growing up, and I kind of just thought that was how it's supposed to be. You owned an apartment, but you were supposed to own an apartment building. So, and as I got older, my father was like, well, you don't want to rent, you want to buy. Like, you definitely don't want to pay rent anywhere. You want to buy, right?
Absolutely.
Right, man?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so it's
You
really...
should have talked me out of it before I put the deposit.
But, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you always want to try to buy. And that they instilled that on me growing up. And I think that's why I bought the first one. And my buddy that I used to go to the gym with, and we had bought a couple cars together to flip. And... he was entrepreneurial too, so it was just fun. Like, so we were like, oh, we could probably pull it down and see if we could buy a building. So we bought this little like ranch, and it was a blast because I was 19 years old with a house. So you can imagine what that was like. There was a lot of people in my house all the time. So we had a ton of fun with it. It was great. And then we sort of. He went in a different direction and started buying. He actually went into he was in cars, then he went into mortgages, and then I went into radio, and I moved north, and I think he moved in with his girlfriend, and I didn't move in with my girlfriend at the time. I think I might not have had a girlfriend at the time. I think that might have switched up right around there. But I went up. I was at UNH a lot then, so Dover made sense for me. So I bought this really cool 4-unit in Dover. And
do you remember what you paid for it?
I think the 4-unit was in the $220 range. I think. So it's a 4-unit. It was rough. I lived in a 3-bedroom apartment with a 2-car garage, and the other units. The first year, I had to pay a little bit to live there. By the end of the first year, it was free for me to live there. Then I brought a roommate in. And once the roommate was in it, I was making money. And by the end of the second year, it was like paying for my truck, and it paid for my boat, and it paid for a snowmobile. Like it was paying for all my stuff. And I was making pretty good money. So, but I was spending a lot of it. But because I had the multifamily, like I had a sort of a forced savings account. So a couple years in, I took an equity line and I bought a duplex that was just down the street from the building I had. And that was my second building. And then what happened? Then I kept those for a while. I bought another house to move into with my now wife. She wasn't my wife yet, but at the time, girlfriend. And then when we opened Keller, we ended up selling both my multis. And I didn't buy anything for a little while because we opened Keller. And then I started buying stuff again, and now I've got a pretty good portfolio now of all kinds of stuff.
How many?
We're 55, 6 units, something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
So
it's in a mix of stuff. I've got some condos. I have single-family houses. I got some commercial buildings. I have some multifamilies. A little bit of everything. I got a piece of land, a couple pieces of land, but just different things. But I think, I like it. I enjoy doing it. It's fun. I think right now, we're in a really cool place if you can afford to buy stuff. The challenge that people have is if you can't afford to buy stuff, you have to find a way to buy something. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the thing you're going to live in for more than a year, but you got to buy something because the market is if you're standing still and the market's going up all the time. And if you don't buy something, the market is going to outpace you, and you're just going to get further and further away from buying a thing. Whereas if you buy something, it may not be perfect, but at least you've kind of leveled out. So now you're rising with the market. So you're getting your appreciation on your property, and the market's going up at the same time. And if you're buying the bottom of the market, if you're entering the market at the bottom, which and I mean the bottom by like a low entry price, those properties go up as a percentage more than everybody else's, than the more expensive properties, as a percentage. Like, not obviously as a dollar value, but as a percentage.
Right.
So your opportunity there is to keep pace with the market's really good, and you can make a lot of profit in fairly quickly. So, don't wait. The theory of waiting to buy is kind of misguided, especially right now, and especially in New England. In New England, we have a housing shortage. So we have, depending on which expert you hear, we're 67,000 houses short or whatever. We only build about 3,000 a year, and we're a move to state. So more people are coming in here than we can house. So that's why you see towns that are kind of the outskirt towns of Portsmouth, that the prices are just going crazy, because that's where people have to go. Like, it's really hard to be to work in Portsmouth and also own a house in Portsmouth. A lot of people own houses, 45 minutes north, either into Maine or up in New Hampshire, just because they need to be able to afford being here. And, that creates the opportunity, right? If you skate to where the puck is going to be, if you follow Route 16 up north, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity up there to buy stuff. There's a lot of opportunity up the 95 into Maine, too. I think we have these really cool pockets that if you don't mind driving, like, you can make some real good money over the next 5 to 10 years just buying stuff that cash flows a little, or just buy something to live in and just stay in it for a few years. We have agents here that every 2 to 3 years they flip out of what they're in and buy something better. And they're so good at it, and they're so methodical about it, that they're massively wealthy because they keep rolling that equity tax-free every 2 years.
What do you say? Because, there are people that I follow online that I, have watched for years at this point, that I kind of value their opinion. And a few of them are saying, it just makes more sense to rent right now.
I would stop following those people.
But how would you combat that? Because obviously, I don't think rent has caught up to the cost of owning a house. So dollar-wise, it is less money ultimately. But obviously,
that's a myth. Because if that was the case, then there would be no real estate investors.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Explain.
Well, so my mortgages on the buildings that I rent are less than what the people are paying to rent them.
Okay.
And there's profit in there.
Right. I'm trying to be a pessimist.
Yes, I'm trying to help you with that.
Yeah.
So you can find. I mean, you can buy a single family house, especially like a single family house. If you're going to rent one, good luck, and good luck finding one. And then if you can find one, you're paying more than the mortgage.
Yeah.
You just are.
So and also it's a good thing you mentioned New England, because we're in a very different market than other areas of the country. And this is my inexperience, this question, and but like, is this the first time where like our market has been just completely different than what's going on in other parts of the country?
No.
All right.
New England is a much more stable market than a lot of the rest of the country. The good is that we're a lot more stable than the rest of the country. The bad is we're a lot more stable than the rest of the country. So when like California or Florida sees a giant spike, we'd see like a little bit of a gain. The transverse of that is if they see a down, we typically don't. Even in the big crash, like we're parts of the country we're seeing 30%, 25-30% depreciation. We saw like 7%. So it's very, very different. And what's different now is that we're not overbuilt. The last time we were way overbuilt, and because we're not overbuilt, even if we get foreclosures, there's tons of equity in them. So when people, they're likely not going to lose their house unless they do something wrong. And if they do, there's equity in it when they go to put it in the market, so they can get out of it normally. So it's going to be a very different picture this time if people start losing houses because of job loss or something like that.
What do you think if there is a crash that is going to happen in the real estate market? What do you think is going to cause it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. I mean, that's a scary.
I'm just curious
because I don't really know what it is. It could. Yeah. It could be some crazy thing with war. It could be another COVID type event. Like I don't really know. The tough thing to see in New England, because that's where I operate, is that we have years of a shortage, like 10 years, 15 years of a shortage of, like, if we just continue to build houses at the rate we're building houses now, if we're let's say 65,000 houses short in New Hampshire, we build on average 3,000 houses a year. How many years at 3,000 houses a year? And that 65,000 number isn't a static number. That number is going up. So, that's a long time for us to catch up.
Do you think that's just because of the towns with regulations and the states with regulations, or do you just think that's a lack of space?
The shortage? It's a few things. It's definitely regulation. We've regulated ourselves into the problem largely, because there's not a lot of neighborhoods that are quarter-acre neighborhoods where you got a house on a quarter acre. There's not a lot of that anymore, and people don't want that in theory. Nobody does until they realize they can't afford it if it's not that. Some of it's safety. Some of it's just the way that over the years the towns are like, it's a good idea, 3-acre zoning or 2-acre zoning. It's a good idea, impact fees. It's a good idea, like all these little things that they do to, in theory, make things better for the consumer. The consumer pays for all those decisions. And over time, it's gotten to a point where that, like, well, we don't want that here, so we can't do that here. Now the government is stepping in with some of the new ADU rules and some of the things that the state has made towns have to comply with, so that you can, build an additional unit on your house or add bedrooms, and the things that they're doing to try to make it easier for people to develop and get more housing built. So short answer, yeah, I think it's regulation. I think it's years and years and years of that, and then it's the fact that we have some of the best schools, some of the best hospitals, some of the best quality of life, some really great tax structures depending on the town you live in, so that people want to be here. And then we've
You're saying in New Hampshire tax-wise, New Hampshire.
I'm saying in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Maine's a little different.
Yeah.
But Maine's got some great things too going for it, and Connecticut does as well, and so does Rhode Island. Like we're very unique in that.
Just not Massachusetts because.
Oh, Massachusetts, all right. I mean, Massachusetts they have the same housing shortage issues that we do. The difference in Mass is they can build up. We don't really build up in New Hampshire. Like we don't build like more than 4 stories. People are like, whoa, that we don't do a lot of that here. We're more and more than we were before, but we're really kind of against that in a lot of towns in New Hampshire. So that's I think that's part of it too. I think there's there's a need for someone to come up with a way to make housing more inexpensive and more user friendly, and it hasn't sort of happened yet. A lot of people are trying. I think it will happen. I think some of the modular technology that's out there today is pretty incredible. I think if the towns can kind of get behind it, there's some really great opportunities for that. Like Dover's done it a couple times. There's some more stuff happening, around the seacoast for not tiny houses, but kind of tiny houses. I think the condo development movement right now is going to come back and be big. I think, taking multifamilies and turning them into condos is an opportunity to help create housing at an affordable rate for people. And that's better for the town because it creates ownership and it increases the tax roll and it helps, it's just good. So maybe we'll see more of that.
A couple of things too. So
I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So Florida just passed a bill in the House that still needs to pass through the state needs to vote on it. People need to vote on it, but to essentially erase property taxes. Other than
I don't know
what the cost is.
Why would you do that? I don't know how they'll exist.
So I mean, the governor obviously says, well, they don't have a deficit. They're not. As a state, they make more money than they owe.
One.
Yeah,
that's
so
what they're gonna do.
But I mean, obviously that is a very appealing thing to a lot of people. And even if the state ends up going backwards and goes into debt, there still won't be property taxes, and people will look at that from a zoomed out view and be like, "This is awesome." You know what I mean? So, do you think New Hampshire will ever do anything like that, or
God, I hope not.
Yeah. So why? So explain to me, why you think having property taxes is a good thing. Because obviously, the main dig for a lot of people is New Hampshire's property taxes are ridiculous.
Because of math.
Yeah. All right.
So everything that people want to make the quality of life what it is here costs money. Like the roads cost money. To plow them costs money. To maintain the sides of the road costs money. For hospitals costs money. Fire departments
But do you not
cost
think
money.
that there are other ways towns and states can generate income?
Not really.
Than
Not
property tax?
that kind of income. I mean, you could charge to drive on the roads more. People will not like that. You could, charge a sales tax. We could throw that in there.
Which is being, has been toyed with, I'm sure, every few years in New Hampshire.
Our property taxes aren't terrible. They're locally, people are like, oh, they're high. They're really not.
From a national average standpoint, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, it obviously is on the higher end of the spectrum. But the state average is like $20 per thousand, somewhere around that. And if you go into southern Maine, if you go to a lot of towns, especially in rural Maine, you're going to see that tax rate and higher. It's just the value isn't like it is in a lot of areas of New Hampshire.
I think it's tough to look at the rate and try to generalize it because the taxes. Property taxes are a way to balance the budget in the town.
Right.
So it's really that's what it is. They have a budget and they have to get the money for the budget, and it comes from property taxes largely. So that's in most towns like that. So that rate's very different depending what the town has. Tuftonboro, New Hampshire has almost their property taxes are very inexpensive unless you live in Tuftonboro. Then you think they're crazy, So it's that's the I say that because my father lives in Tuftonboro.
No, I know you're absolutely right.
The taxes go, oh my God, they're nuts, and then I tell him what I pay in Wolfboro, and he's like, oh wow, well I guess they're not that bad.
Well, your mill rate just went down, but your values went up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's the property tax game. Like it
Mm-hmm.
is just a math problem for the town. Like how do we get to our budget number? Well, we'll have to raise taxes by this, or we'll have to it's just a game. And as
Right.
property values go up, taxes go up, and at some point they have to make the correction there.
But do
the
you not
math.
think that it's pricing people out of areas?
100% is pricing people out of areas.
So
But
how do you
that's
fix
not-
that?
You get a second job. Like, and that's not people don't like that. But
But what
that's-
if they're the 70-year-old disabled veteran that can't work?
Yeah, so that's a challenge, and there are some things that some different towns have where they'll stop that tax. They won't go up until the next buyer comes in. So there are programs like that have been being experimented with and exist around. So
Right, I have heard of that.
So there are things like that I believe should be in play for some of those situations. The other thing you got to remember is that's how a 1-lane road becomes a 4-lane road, or Boston becomes a bigger city. Like that, like all those things happen because values go up and more people want to be there, and it gets better, and that is progress. And many people don't like the progress, and they argue
Right.
with it. They think it's terrible, but that is you can't stop that wheel.
So that sort of ties into what I wanted to kind of brush on next is affordability in housing.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I can see on a federal and national standpoint, they're trying to protect home ownership right now and current home values,
Mm-hmm.
which is ultimately the popular thing to do. Housing is expensive right now. Nobody's going to argue that. But, a lot of people say, oh, well, the interest rates need to be lowered. Or like BlackRock, companies like BlackRock need to stop being able to buy housing. And I'm like, all I can think of is, institutional investors, sure, they own a lot of real estate. But like in an area like New England, they own like less than 1% of housing.
Yeah, we don't like.
So-
So we sell we sell like 350 houses a month. I don't think that any of them are BlackRock houses. I don't
No.
think we've sold a BlackRock house in. I mean, I think we probably
However,
sold one or two.
it could be an issue in other cities. I do know in
it
a
could be,
lot
but-
more popular areas, they own a significant percentage of
Well,
houses.
they want to buy managed assets, and they want to buy them in places where there's enough math to justify them buying them. So they have to have a track record of success in what they're doing. So it's a little harder to see that they'll be here. I mean, it's a great market for them to buy. They should be buying here. At the same time, I think people can get wrapped around the axle with sort of that line of thinking. And I would tell you the best thing you can do to protect yourself against that is to get enough money to go buy something. And the way you do that is get some of your friends together and buy something. Find 6 of you and buy one house. Like, that's what I did. That's how I started. And then I bought multifamilies, and I lived in multifamilies. But if you suggest that to most people, they're like, I don't want to buy a multifamily. I want to buy a
I
single
don't
family
want to
house.
deal with the renters and
Yeah,
da-da-da-da-da.
or I deserve to have a single family house. Well, you don't deserve anything. Like, you got to earn it. So if you want to buy a single family house, what are you going to do to get there? Are you going to work 2 jobs? Are you going to get with some friends and buy it together and then ride the market up and then take that profit and go buy one for yourself later? Are you going to wait a little bit to get what you need together to go buy the thing that you want? I think the financial literacy piece that a lot of people don't get or understand, I think that holds them back. Like, it's not hard to buy a house. To buy a house in the town you necessarily want to be in first, that might be hard because you might not be able to afford it. But if you have the beauty of New Hampshire is I can find you a house in almost any price range. I'm just going to tell you where it is, where it's built, where it is.
If you want a $150,000 house, go to Berlin.
Well, but that's a great place to live if you once you're there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around there that's pretty cool. Like there's a lot of opportunity. You just have to be willing to do the thing that other people aren't willing to do. Like, I was successful at this because I was willing to work my ass off. And I work all the time in the beginning. And I think a lot of our agents here that have succeeded and come from nothing were, willing to outwork other people. The majority of them, I would say, are winning because they're outworking other people. And that's how they're getting what they're getting or doing what they're doing. Like, I have a lot of people that I sold multis to, and the people that listened to me early on and were buying my clients and friends that were buying multis early on, they're all in really good. Most of them are in really good places right now because they've got all this equity in all these buildings they bought over the years, and it wasn't what they wanted to do first. but they did it to get them where they wanted to be. And I think that's the thing that as a society we kind of miss. Like my parents and their parents had a lot of stuff in their time that they had to overcome. Like there was a period of time where a lot of families lived together for years because they had to afford the house that they were living in. Like that's a thing. Or they lived with their parents until they saved up enough money to then go get their own thing. Like no one wants to do that now, and like I kind of agree with that. I don't know that I want to move back in with my parents, but there'll probably come a time where they may have to live with me. Or if my kids need to live with us for a while to get set up to go and buy a house, then maybe that's what they need to do. But I think, there's always a way to do it if you're willing to do the things you need to do to get the thing you want to get. It just may not be what your friends are doing. And I was always willing to do what they weren't willing to do. Yeah,
and there's a couple of things that I want to touch on because we're running out of time.
Okay.
So
you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working with a first-time home buyer right now. I mean, myself included, but also a client. And, if you want to talk yourself out of buying real estate, you can do it extremely easily. And the thing is people love to compare numbers to the 1950s and the 1960s and say, this is how much a car costs, this is how much a house costs, this is how much this costs. And there's, a lot of different reasoning. So you can get into that, but
I just had this conversation with my buddy. I was on the phone before I came in here.
Yeah.
With a friend of mine, and he's a real estate investor, and so am I. And we were just complaining about that. We look at stuff now, and we're like, "That's too much money." But I wanted to go after a house 2 days ago, and I told the agent, one of our agents that listed it, I was like, "That's way too much money," and because it bordered a house that I owned, and it was a good location for me to have, and it would have been a good rental. It had a big garage, so I could put a lot of cars in it, so that was exciting for me. And, within a day, he's got multiple offers, and it's now under contract. And I was like, well, I guess I was wrong there. And my buddy, same thing. He was like, yeah, I just looked at a house down the street from me, and I was going to go buy it. And
point being is, for a first-time home buyer, it's easy, like I said, to talk yourself out of buying a house. And you can't think like that because this is how it is. And this is how it's going to be. And you can sit there and complain and tell me how much it sucks, how expensive things are, but that's not going to make things cheaper, and you're still going to rent.
Expensive now.
Yeah,
like it's not in 2 years from now. It won't be expensive anymore.
Yeah,
like it's going to be. It will be less money.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like you got to get on the elevator now.
Right.
Because that's the thing that people don't see.
People think short term. They don't think long term, and they think. Well, if I buy this house, what if it crashes in 2 years? It's like you don't buy a house on a 2-year basis. Like you buy a house on a longer term basis. That's what you have to think. And you can't be short-minded, and you can't be so pessimistic. And you have to think positively, and you have, like you said, you have to be willing to work hard because like I said, it's so easy to make an excuse on why not to buy a house, but ultimately for your financial well-being and your success is, I think, the American dream to own a house. It's not to sit and complain. It's to own things and be successful. You just gotta figure it out. I mean, I think you have to be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do to get what you want. So, if that's a second job to get you into the house, then that's what it is. If that's, you got to partner up with somebody to buy something, that's what you got to do. Like if you got to buy a duplex or a 4-unit instead of a single family house, that's what you do. Or you don't want to live in a condo, but you can afford a condo, then you buy the condo now and you live in it for 2 years and you get something else later. Right. Like but you got to get on the ride. Yeah. Like, and I think that's, if you can take anything from this whole podcast, is get on the ride. All right. Like, 2 questions. Sure. All right. 2 questions. First question, and I think it could be a loaded one. It's real. The hair, yeah, it looks great. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Do you think the housing market needs correction? I think it's correcting now. Like I think we're in it. Like I don't think it needs correction. I think we're in a correction now. Like I think in parts of the country are already starting to go back up. There are parts of the country that have already dipped and are turning around. They're evening out. And don't look at Florida. Florida is not the barometer for the rest of the country at all.
you got to look at where you're trying to buy and look at the history of that and look at what's happening around there. Like I think if you're looking in New England, it's a very stable market, and it's a great time to sell because properties have never been worth more. It's also a great time to buy because properties have never been worth more, and there's no sign of them stopping going up in value. Like they're going to continue to go up in value, and we're going to continue to have a fairly robust market here. There's nothing that points to us not having that. And if rates go down,
it's only going to make them go higher.
It's going to get even hotter.
We have no inventory.
Right. So yeah, I would say no.
Yeah, I mean, because if the new Fed comes in and lowers interest rates, it's going to be bedlam.
Yeah, you're gonna have like a week to buy as much as you can.
Yeah,
value's gonna go
especially up. Especially if this guy comes in is like 4% interest rates, all of a sudden, even at 4%, it will be bedlam. You know, because we saw the high fives recently.
5% will be bedlam. Like,
yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like right now, if we can stay in the sixes, like and it stables out somewhere in the sixes, I think it's been. There's enough people that have been sitting in the low rates long enough that the sixes are probably enough to make them jump and do stuff. Like, and maybe they keep those, and that that's the thing too. But
yeah. All right, last question for you. I think we do need to do a part 2, but
we can do part 2
eventually. But to end this episode, we end all of them like this. If you're to leave one piece of advice to the listener, business, life, whatever you want it to be, what piece of advice would that be?
Am I talking to a realtor, or am I talking to just the general public?
Anybody you want it to be. I like general public. You know, applies
general
to a lot of
public.
people.
I would say try to leave it better than you found it. That's whatever it is. I try to leave every interaction and business venture or thing that I'm working on better than I found it before I got there. That's kind of my thing. If you can leave it better than you found it, I think that's good. And I think give people grace and try to see things from where they're coming from. I think that's if you can do those two things, I think everything will be great.
Yeah.
Sunshine and roses, baby.
Yeah. Well, Nate, I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to talk to me. This has been a great conversation, and
I look forward to part 2.
Yes, we have to do a part 2 because I feel like there's so much more we can delve into your background wise. We definitely went on to a real estate
talk about whatever else
tangent,
you want to talk
but
about.
yeah, but yeah, I really appreciate you. And this place, Keller Williams, Coastal Lakes and Mountains, is awesome because of you. And I'm extremely lucky to have.
We work
you
for
as my
everybody.
broker,
We're very lucky to have
Yeah.
some of the best staff in the business. I think we have the best team in the business here.
I would agree with that.
We try to provide the best environment we can for all of our agents and their customers, so they can deliver incredible experiences to their customers. So
yeah.
We work hard at it every day and try to be better today than we were yesterday.
Yes.
That's our one little goal.
There you go. Thank you for sharing that advice. And yeah. Well, guys, thank you for listening to the Knowledge is Power podcast. Nate, have you left us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts yet?
No, I will later today.
All right. So Nate's going to do it. You should do it. Helps more people reach the show so they can
You should.
hear.
I just started a YouTube channel, too. You should check it out.
I will definitely. Are you subscribed to my YouTube channel?
It's rolling.equity.
Rolling.equity?
Yeah.
Do you have a producer and everything like that? And
no, we're just experimenting with that now. So I'm learning YouTube. It's very exciting, and we're going to talk about cars and real estate and investing in both, and some other fun stuff.
Yeah.
Probably food.
Buy a 944 Porsche. I think that's going to appreciate in value. I've always wanted one of those.
They're already.
Those are going up in value. So, but yeah, all right. Thank you, Nate.